Hi, and welcome back to the Messy Cook. Today I am making I'm going to call it leftover beef ragu. I'm using a nice piece of prime rib that I had left over that I don't want to waste from dinner a couple nights ago. And I'm going to show you the ingredients, what you need here, and then we're going to get going. So obviously the meat, food processor, going to need a knife and a garlic press, or you can just chop it, 2 stalks of celery, 1 carrot, 1 pepper, whatever color you like. I'm using red today. 1 average size onion. This was a really massive red onion and I just happen to have it left over in the fridge, so I'm going to use that just to get rid of it, waste not, want not. Some mushrooms and, like I said, garlic, and I have some oregano from the garden and some basil that'll go in at the end. I also have some red wine. You can use whatever red wine you like. This is a Baco Frisky Red from Frisky Beaver. Really delicious wine. If you ever want a nice winery to go to, look up the Frisky Beaver. They've got some great stuff. Olive oil, tomato paste, homemade stewed tomatoes, and some strained tomatoes. So not tomato sauce, like regular or anything. This is just plain strained tomatoes. A couple tablespoons of milk. I'm going to put this on Papardelle tonight. Some salt and pepper, and some beef stock, which I have aside here, which is maybe, let me see here, half a cup. And I just use like a bouillon, one might get from Costco. I can't think of the name of it, but it's really good. They have chicken, better than bouillon. So if you need a quick broth, that is the one to use. So I'm going to get these veggies prepped. They're somewhat there. This is a lazy night, weeknight. I don't want to do all the chopping by hand, so I'm going to use my handy dandy modern food processor and chop everything up. So I'm going to show you when we get to that point. So you'll see here, I've put in, you want to chop together the things you're going to cook first, the things that are going to take the longest. So the pepper, some onion, celery, and the carrot is in there. So I'm going to mince this to a fine dice. And if you don't have a food processor, just chop it by hand and make sure it's nice and small. So as you can see here, this is a pretty small dice. Like I said, the convenience of just doing it in the food processor is amazing. You might get some bigger pieces, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. And if you do like it a little bit chunkier, feel free to do that. So I'm just going to scrape this out with my hand. You can use a scraper if you want, but that works for me. Next, I'm going to do the mushrooms and the garlic. We're going to get those chopped up as well, and then I'm going to get to cooking. Okay, so the veggies are chopped up. I've got those set aside. I'm going to take this piece of meat, and I'm going to kind of cut it in real thin slices and just make them, I don't know, centimeter long, just so it falls apart a little bit when we're cooking it. We want it to, it's a tender cut, so it's going to fall apart generally anyhow, but we just kind of want this shredded through the sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and get that prepped. These nice fatty bits and a little bit of meat, I'm going to pass along to my puppy for a treat. So I'm going to shred this up, get ready for you. All right, so I have everything chopped, as you can see here. The other stuff's on the other counter, but I'll show you as it comes in. You can see that I've shredded this, not shredded it, but sliced it pretty thin. So it's very tender, so when this gets cooked in the warm sauce, the tomatoes will help, the acid in the tomatoes will help break it down. So we're going to get this going. I'm going to put the burner on. This is a cast pot. You can use a frying pan, regular pot, whatever you like. I'm going to put it on fairly high heat and put in some olive oil. Like I said, the thing about me is, I want to make it easy for people to follow these recipes. Use what you want. If you don't have peppers, or you don't like peppers, or something in the sauce that you don't like, just don't add it in. If you don't have fresh garlic, a good heaping teaspoon of garlic powder, if you like lots of garlic powder, is perfect. Otherwise, about a teaspoon, or again, leave it out. So if you like your sauce chunkier, make your veggies a little bit less minced, but I like it for a good ragu. I like it minced quite small here. So we're just heating this oil up and it's getting there. So let's get things going in our pot here. So I'm going to add in, this is the peppers, the onions, the celery, and the carrots. I'd say it's the Holy Trinity, but there's 4 things in there instead of 3. But this is most of the stuff is a base for most Italian ragus, although I'm no expert, so tell me if I'm wrong. So we're going to get this frying up here. I'm going to saute down till the onions become a little bit opaque and everything softens up a little bit. So that might take about 5 to 7 minutes. All right, so these have been going for about 6 or 7 minutes. The onions are starting to get a little bit more opaque, so I'm going to add in, excuse my arm there, mushrooms and garlic as they cook a little bit quicker. So we're going to get those in, and we're going to continue to saute until everything softens up. There's a little bit bigger chunks of mushrooms in there, but we can just chop those down. And yeah, this will release a fair amount of water with the mushrooms too, so don't worry about that. You're just going to cook until most of that water is gone and everything's nice and soft. Okay, so this is coming together pretty good. You can see the edges of the pan are browning a bit. That's lots of flavor in there, and everything's softening up nicely. So I'm going to add in the meat. Now, like my other ragu, if you don't want to do leftover meat, if you even use leftover steak or roast, whatever you like, you can also do a mix of ground beef, veal, you could do chicken, and you don't have to mix, you can just use whatever you like. So we're going to add this meat in. I want to cook this down and get this a little bit more browned on it. Cook it through. When we cook it, when the sauces are all in there, tomatoes and whatnot, it's going to cook down a little bit more, but this will just pick up a little bit more flavor with the moisture. So I'm going to continue to cook this for about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, it's been a couple minutes. This is cooking well. Still a little pink, but that's okay. It's going to cook down. I'm going to start with my seasonings, and we're going to get this flavor. I'm going to take some more time. So I'm going to grind some fresh pepper in there. I'm not going to add any salt right now because there was salt on the beef when I cooked it originally. There's also a bit of salt in the tomato puree, and as well as the stewed tomatoes that I made last year, and a little bit in the beef stock. So you want to cook this. If you notice on the bottom, there really isn't much liquid left. There's a little bit there, but that's okay. So what we want to do is we want to start adding the liquids in. This is going to get the flavors going a little bit. So I'm just going to set this back down. Just wanted you to see that. So first here we have some beef stock. So that beef stock is going to go in, and what that's going to do is help me. I'm going to work with that and scrape some of these lovely little bits off the bottom, because again, that's flavor. So when that is cooked off, and it'll cook off quick because I have it on a decently high heat, I'm going to add in that red wine. I have about a cup there, but I'll probably add in about a half a cup of red wine. No, don't worry, the alcohol will burn off. I don't know if you're not a red wine fan. That's okay, I'm not either. Although this is one of the few ones that I've actually really liked. Normally I don't like red wine, but I had a sip of this when we did a prime rib the other night, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. So we're going to cook that down till some of this juice is gone, and we're going to come back and add some more stuff. Alright, so this is cooking down. You still have a little liquid left, but I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of milk. I know some people think that's weird. I have always put it in. A friend of mine that showed me her ragu had a little bit of milk, and I think it just mellows some of the acidity instead of having to add sugar. But you can do the sugar too if you like. Some people like it, some people will tell you absolutely not. Just depends on the sauces you're using. Sometimes they're very acidic, and if you're easy to get heartburn, adding that bit of milk or a tablespoon of sugar nearing the end is actually not a bad idea. So we're going to continue to cook this a little bit more. We're going to add in the oregano from the garden. You can use dried. If you use dried, I'd use about a tablespoon. I'm using probably 3 or 4 tablespoons of fresh, but that will cook down. I'm going to use about 1/4 cup of tomato paste, which is about half of one of those little cans, about 1.5 cups of my stewed tomatoes, which are scrunched up a bit, and about half of that jar right there of the tomato sauce. So we're going to come back in just a moment. Alright, so I'm going to add in the oregano. I'm just going to strip it right off. So strip from the top to the bottom. You should get all the leaves, and you can break it coarsely or not break it at all, but it does cut down pretty good. So we're just going to pinch that off. It's a great season for herbs right now. So if you have any in your garden, I would get them out at the first frost. You can dry them out, wash them, dry them out on your kitchen table or dining room table on some towels. You can dry them and put them in bags and grind as you need, which is what I do. I see some people are taking them and they're putting them grinding them up and mixing in some olive oil or butter and putting them in ice cube trays, which actually isn't a half bad idea. I may actually do a little bit of that this year, as well as I've got quite a bit of oregano and lots of basil left. Next weekend I'm going to be making this coming weekend, actually a few more days, I'm going to be doing some basil pesto, so I will do a video for that so you guys can see how that works out. I'm going to add in the tomato paste. You can see most of the juices are gone now, so we're just going to scoop that in, get this mixed. There. I also sometimes will use the tube of tomato paste, which is great. If you don't want to get a whole jar, because sometimes you just don't use it for anything, add in those tomatoes. A little juice. I can just kind of scrunch them up with my hand, as normally they're just quartered. Or you can buy diced stewed tomatoes if you like. The cans you get in the grocery store are amazing. And I'm going to add in about half of this jar. I think this jar is close to, it's about a liter, I think. Let's see here. 600, oh no, okay, I'm going to add a little bit more. 2/3 of a jar. We'll see how well that thins out enough. I like a thicker sauce. I don't like to do it too thin. If you do find it's a little too thick, you can add a little bit more stock to it, because we do want to simmer this for a while. And looking at this, I may actually do that. So I'm going to add a little bit more stock in there, and we're just going to let that simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to check the flavor, see if it needs anything, if we do actually need some salt or not. And we're going to let it simmer otherwise for about half an hour to 45 minutes. Like I said, this is a quick one. But some of these you can make and you could just simmer them for hours, and the flavor, you get more depth of flavor the longer you do it. So I'm going to come back shortly after I add some beef stock and let this simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so this has been simmering for about 20 minutes, and I'm just going to leave it on the small burner, simmer burner I guess, and leave this for a little bit longer. Flavors are good. I did have to add about a half a teaspoon of salt in, and probably another half a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. So we're just going to let this go. I'll check it in about a half an hour. We'll check the flavors. If it's ready, we'll add in some fresh basil. I'll just break that up and stir it around, and then I'll get the pappardelle cooked. Papardelle, if I pronounce that wrong, please correct me. And yeah, we'll serve it up. Okay, so I thought I was videoing there, but I guess I wasn't. So I've taken, you'll see some, there's my sauce here. This here is a rind from Parmesan cheese. So I buy a block of it from Costco. I usually cut it in 3 and freeze some. When I'm done that block, I save the rinds and I freeze them for when I do the sauce. There's another one in here somewhere, which once I find it, I'll take it out. I have taken my fresh basil from the garden and torn it up in chunks in here. So there's the other piece there. So we're gonna let that simmer for another maybe 5 or 10 minutes while the pasta water boils. Once that comes to boiling, the pasta water, I'm going to generously salt it to flavor the pasta, add the pappardelle in, and then we're going to get that served up. Now, if you don't have fresh basil, just to go back, or dried basil, sorry, if you don't have fresh basil or fresh oregano like I did, you can use dried. Use about a teaspoon of each, or whatever you like for flavor, but you're going to add that in around the time that you put the tomato paste and whatnot in there. So we'll come back as soon as that pasta is cooked. Okay, so water is boiling. This is the pappardelle that I bought. It's this pasta here. It's just a little dried. Now it's going to make roll some fresh pasta that I made on the weekend, but it did not hold up well in the fridge, so we will do fresh pasta for another day. So for the two of us, I'm going to put in 4 of these little kind of nests, I guess, and I'll keep 2 aside for another day for leftover. So we're going to add that in, and we're just going to stir those around a little bit and just kind of get them separate a little. So we're going to let those go. They will cook for 7 minutes, so I'll put that timer on and we'll come back. Okay, so the pappardelle is cooked. 7 minutes exactly is what it said on the package. Amazing. It is cooked absolutely perfect, and I have taken the rinds out of the pasta sauce. So this cooked probably, total an hour and 20 minutes with everything. So I'm going to put a bit of pasta sauce in there, maybe half of it. That might be too much, but that's okay. And we're going to get this all mixed up here. Oops, sorry, hopefully you can see that all right. And I did leave a little bit of pasta water in the bottom of the pot just to soak up. And I'm going to get this served up into a bowl with some fresh Parmesan. So we'll come right back in a moment. Okay, so we're all set here. I'm getting my elbow in the way. Just going to toss this around here. Get a nice serving, which right about there, which is just perfect. You don't want to do too much unless you really want too much. And I'm going to get some of the sauce as well to put on the top. It is mixed in quite nice here, but put a little bit extra in there, and I'll probably fish it a little bit more. So there's our pasta. This is going to be amazing. I did test it, and the beef has tenderized really nice. It isn't falling apart, it's still in nice sized pieces. And then we're just going to show you some fresh parm. If you don't have fresh parm, you can just use anything really. Put a little bit of mozzarella on there, or you can use the shaker stuff, and that's it. So we are all set. I hope you enjoy this recipe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Click like and subscribe, and I'm going to start getting to doing some more recipes. So have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for coming.